Boxing King Media in association with Boxer. We're here at York Hall for the media workout for the fighters on Saturday night, headlined by Caroline Dubois. With me, the notorious Johnny Nelson. Johnny, great to see you. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's nice to be at the scene of the crime when it comes to Saturday night. So it looks different. It looks different when it's not fight night. So I've never been here actually when it's not fight night, but it's different.
Caroline Dubois headlines her first show. How much pressure is it when fighters have to take that centre stage? Is it a lot difficult mentally?
I think Caroline's born for it. I don't think any of the razzmatazz or anything around her actually affects her. You see how she carries herself, presents herself outside of the ring until the bell goes, and then once the bell has gone, she just turns into a completely different beast. So this kind of responsibility of headlining the show, to me, I think it will make she's one of the fighters that'll make hungry. Most fighters, they can't deal with the pressure. I don't think it makes a difference to her. She's got heir apparent written all over her. And you know, if the likes of Clarissa Shields has touted her to be one of the best in the future down the line, you know, there's something that says something.
It is a breakthrough show, so there's a lot of the talent that's upcoming. Vidal Riley, Callum Simpson, McKenna's on here, Francisca Hennessy makes her debut as well. So anyone in particular got your eye on?
I'm actually interested in Vidal Riley, Vidal Riley against Quarles. I think that's going to be a good fight. I really do. It's for the English title, 10-rounder. Vidal has grown and gotten better and better and better. Noel's not come to make up the numbers. You know, this I think will be his most competitive fight. And I know he's had fights that have gone in there, tried to put it on him. He's just had too much. I think this will be his most competitive fight. So it will tell us about the extent of his talent.
We know Sky have heavily invested in people like Adam Azim in Ben Whittaker, but a lot of people say that Callum Simpson could be that kind of dark horse near you from Barnsley, not far away from you. Impressed with what you've seen so far?
Yeah, I like how he carries himself. I like the arrogance, the cockiness about him. I think he has the support there in Barnsley. And you speak to this young man off camera, and this young man off camera, he knows what he wants. He's got the hunger that is needed in this game, especially at this level. And I actually like the fact that young talent like Callum and Co on the undercard are getting that opportunity to get involved.
Johnny, what do you make of Matchroom coming out and making an offer for Adam Azim to fight Dalton Smith?
It's business. And listen, if you can dangle a carrot, hoping you can attract the bait, why not? It's business, you know. And it's a case of, is it good business moving forward? You don't know. So it's just business. There's nothing more you can speculate about. These guys are doing their job.
I just want to go back to last weekend. We saw JOYCE fight Zidane. I'm sure you saw that fight. A devastating, crushing knockout. A punch that probably puts most heavyweights to sleep. Just your first assessment of the fight.
Well, I think in the rematch, I actually thought Joe would win the rematch, because I think Joe made the fundamental mistake of what most of his previous opponents did to him. They go in there, think it's easy to hit, they get greedy, let the shots off, they burn themselves out and get caught. So I thought Joe had learnt the lesson from the first one. The first one, he came in a little lighter, so it showed he wanted the work rate to up. The second one, he came in back to his normal-ish weight, and the second one was more devastating than the first one. The problem is this: JOYCE has got a massive chin. He's got a big chin. He can take a shot, and you've never seen him rattled or rocked at all. So now this has happened twice on the bounce. Now, if it's an indication that all of a sudden he can't take a shot, he's in big trouble, because that to me has been one of his strengths. He can take a good shot. He's very tough and keeps moving forward. If he can't take a shot, now that's most of his defence gone. Now he's got to depend on talent, depending on what he wants to do with the rest of his career. And yes, it's easy to write him off because of 2 crushing defeats. I don't think it's fair to do that. I think this is down to him to decide how he's going to do it, the position he's in. I think there are still some good fights out there for him. What can he change? I don't know. But one thing he can change is he can start to move his head a bit more. But I just think the defeat was crushing, and I don't know where it leaves him. There are domestic fights there to be had, but if you've got ambitions in this game to get to the top, I think domestic isn't enough.
We know he started his professional career very, very late, so there's not mileage on the clock. But there's been a lot of criticism, and do you think that's been fair? Because Andy Joshua had a couple of losses, has been stopped, got knocked out, or stopped on his feet rather, came back. Deontay Wilder been knocked out, he's come back. Do you feel like the criticism this week from amongst many individuals in the sport of boxing has been unfair on Joe?
Yeah, but the thing is, I think the criticism comes because part of his strength was his chin. And so to get done like that twice on the bounce, you're thinking, well, what have you got? So you can kind of sort of understand where people are coming from. But Joe's got to do, he's the one that decides whether or not, you know what, you might just be my bogeyman. You were that big southpaw that I just could never figure out. So there's one thing I understand, I can't deal with you at this moment in time. But I just think we've got to wait down the line, a couple of fights down the line, and just see how he is, see what happens when he comes up against another test, when he's hit on the chin. Because even as a fighter, once you've been down once, once you've been down twice, stopped twice, what happens is when you think, you'll question yourself, well, am I chinny? Can I take a shot? So we won't know until it comes to fight time.
I just want to read out what Tony Bellew said. Tony Bellew said, Joe Joyce will lose to Fabio Wardley now. His punch resistance has gone. It's as simple as that. I don't think he'd beat the British champion now.
Harsh, ambitious for Fabio. Fabio's a good talent, but don't judge a book by its cover. Remember, Joe Joyce has been underestimated by a lot of people, and this is why he's got into the business he's got to. So, and I understand Tony saying that, but you've got to wait and just see if he just came up against his bogeyman. If that was his bogeyman, then we'll just see in the next fights to come. So I think it's probably a bit premature to shout out such a big balls. But in reality, it's a good fight. But it depends on if Joe can get himself up to fight somebody at Fabio's level. And I mean, Joe's thinking I'm there, Fabio's there. This is in his head. So can he get himself up to go back, step back?
How much of a problem is Zhang for the rest of the heavyweights?
How much of a problem is it? He's beatable, we've seen. He's strong, he's tough. If you can box, you can move, you're boxing, you're beaten. But if you get greedy, because it's easy to hit, then you get turned over. So it's not an impossible task. Everybody thinks it's impossible to beat somebody until they're beaten. But he's beatable. So that's all. But there are some intriguing fights out there. You think, God, I wonder what would happen if Wilder hit him. What would be the difference then? Or I wonder what would happen if he marolled and walked down Wilder. You don't know. But I just think he's beatable. I don't look at him and think this guy, is going to beat them all out there. I don't think that. I don't see that. But I do see he's an issue for a lot of people.
Conor Benn returned on Saturday early hours, or Sunday early hours in the morning. Did you see his fight, and what do you make of his performance?
Regardless of everything that's happened on the sidelines, I've always been a fan of Conor's. I think the situation that Conor's got himself in casts a shadow over his career. But that's by the by. I've always been a fan of his. And so now, for whatever reason he's got out there, whatever the knock-on effect's going to be of him fighting without being granted by the British Boxing Board of Control, I don't know how that's going to pan out. Talk to me about the performance. I thought the performance was good. I thought he was sharp, he was on it, boxed confidently, aggressively. And I like what I see. But even before, I've always been a fan of his. I've always looked at him and thought, shit, man, this is a developing fight coming through and through. So talk to me about the performance. I thought it was a good performance and a well-deserved win.
Eddie Hearn's made it clear the Eubank Jr. fight is the one they want next. And he's made it very clear, if they can't make it in the UK, they'll go to the Middle East and have that fight. Do you think Eubank goes in that fight, considering that the board are still appealing and there could be consequences for him?
I think Junior does what's best for Junior. And if there are consequences from the board for him fighting Chris, then he's got to think to himself, okay, moving forward, what's best for me? So you just need to see what the knock-on effect of that would be. And of course, Eddie wants it. Doesn't mean it's done. Of course he wants it. But Junior's in a powerful position where he can kind of pick and choose after such a win. such a turnaround. So he's in a great position.
Did you see Frank Smith's comments on builders? That's been kind of on builders. That's been going around. Everyone's commenting on it. I think there's a clip online from our channel, Boxing King Media, where I think it's got close to 1 million or just over 1 million views.
Was that a swipe at Carl? Was it a swipe at Carl, or was Carl swiping back at him? I'm trying to figure it out.
It wasn't a swipe at Carl, but Carl was swiping at Frank Smith.
You know what? It's just things are said. Talk is cheap. That's how it is. That's the game, and that's the name of the game.
Do you think he meant to offend it? It seemed like what he was trying to say was completely different to what people are thinking he said.
I think he didn't say it for no reason. So whatever's going on in the background, we can only speculate, but he didn't say it for no reason. So we can make of it what we will.
We've seen cross fights happen this year. We saw Joseph Parker go from Sky fight Joe Joyce. A man who returned back to the ring on Saturday night was Anthony Yard. Frank Warren has said, listen, we would love to fight the winner of Boatsy Aziz. Do you think that could happen?
You know what, I like the fact that Anthony Yard came to Sky, sat down in the studio, you heard it from the horse's mouth. I want this fight. It wasn't some promoter trying to put himself in a position. It wasn't anybody else. It came from the horse's mouth. So the fans can then understand, you know what, right, these guys want it. It's the businessmen that are messing this up from happening. It'd be a great fight. It's a fight that we've all talked about for quite a while behind the scenes. And you know what, if it fits the mold, if it fits the pattern, I can't see why not. And I think it puts bums on seats. I think it's an intriguing fight. And it sorts out the light heavyweight domestic situation anyway in regards to how you're looking at it and who's top dog.
Johnny, just finally, there's a documentary that came out last week, Channel 4. Seems like a couple of referees, some ex-fighters are suing and taking legal action against the board for racism and other things. Just, did you watch the documentary? Just your thoughts and your experiences with the board over kind of your career?
I think to make a statement that the Boxing Board of Control is racist, that's bullshit. I think they need to be dragged into the 21st century in regards to representation, in regards to how they deal with the masses of the fighters that are here in the UK. So they're probably they are old school, but representation needs to be had because they don't understand, they don't get it. But to tell me the Boxing Board of Control are racist, I boxed for over 20 years, and if you can win, if you can fight, you can fight, regardless of XYZ's opinion of where you come from and who you are, what colour you are, because if you're a winner, you're a winner. I think the board just need to mix it up. The board need to move with the times, and the board need younger, fresher meat and younger, fresher eyes amongst the board so they understand where they're putting their foot in their mouth and messing themselves up.
Just finally, I know I said finally, but I just want to show you a quick video. Mike Tyson showing Francis Ngannou a combination. What did you make of it?
Mike Tyson showing Ngannou a move that suits Mike Tyson. That's Mike Tyson's style of fight, Mike Tyson's speed, Mike Tyson's punch power. That move that he's showing him wouldn't suit Ngannou. It's too big for it. One move won't suit him. Mike Tyson had that. He could slip in, slip on, slip out, and get in there and punish you when he got inside there. Ngannou's too big and too slow for that. So it's a move that if you've got a man hurt works. But I think Mike's a fight fan, and he likes to see a good fight. And so when Ngannou's asking for some advice, I'm quite sure he's generous enough to give most fighters a bit of advice.
Joy Nelson, thank you for speaking to Boxing King Media.
Peace. Shit.